Hello friends, my name is Mayur. Today I'm going to talk about a very important subject around emotional states of mind. Have you ever wondered, right? We feel in a lot of areas of life. Have you ever wondered asking a question, why we have failed? And if you ask this question to anyone, you will give thousands of excuses. I failed because I didn't have this thing, I failed because I didn't have that thing, I failed because the environment was like this, that, and blah blah. The important reason why we fail is because we do not have access to our resources. Despite of the fact we have learned best of the skills, but at the time of performance we are not able to recall those skills. Very small example. A student, he studies over the year thoroughly, he learns the subjects, he has all the skills to go out and give exam, right? But what happens when he is in the examination hall? His state of mind is totally different. He is not able to recall a lot of stuff that he had learned over past 1 year. And we wonder why? Because he is not into that resourceful state. His state of mind has changed. So that's what we're going to learn, how state of mind affects us, our actions, our behaviors, and how state of mind is generated. So I'll give you a small example here. We come across several events in our life. There are a lot of events happening. There are a lot of incidents we see. There are a lot of incidents that have happened with us in the past. So we see those or perceive those events in a certain way. We have been gifted with 5 sensors, right? What are those sensors through which we perceive those events? The first sensor is a visual sensor. We have visual sense. We perceive several events by looking at them, by visualizing them. The second sense is auditory. It's audio sense. There are a lot of events with sounds. There's a lot of sounds within events, right? We hear people talking and other stuff. So we perceive those events. There are some audios in those events through which we perceive them. Third type is kinesthetic. Feelings. We feel certain things, we feel certain events by touch or other ways, right? Let's say there's a hot glass of water, and if you touch it, you know that it's hot, right? So that's how we perceive certain things. The other 2 senses are smell and taste. So we perceive events by smelling. You know, if someone has a particular fragrance and we recognize that person, right? That's how we identify that who that person is. Like for example, in dog, right? Dog has a great smell sense, right? He can find out a person in 10 lakh people just by smelling. So these are our sensory receptors to any external event, any incident, or whatever things are going across us. That's how we perceive. I'll call this as an external event, and I'll give it a name as event 1. Now, how our mind registers this event, how our mind experiences this event. So we'll talk about that. Let us assume this is who we are. Right? This is our mind. Now we'll classify mind into 2 categories. One is the logical brain, or conscious brain. The other one is unconscious brain. So our logical brain is processing several bits of information, billions of bits of information per second. Right? That's how we are looking at an event. A lot of objects are being processed. So what our mind does, right? Based on our past experiences, based on our past belief, based on our past education, and based on our past upbringing. Based on these past references, our mind filters these events. The moment an event comes, our mind will filter. Either it will delete, or it will distort, or it will generalize an event. It will not store that event as it is. That event won't go into the memory as it is, or it won't go into the unconscious part as it is. It will apply this filter based on these past references. Depending upon our past experiences, that's how our mind will use any 3 of these. For example, there's a person who has a bad experience with someone, right? He broke his trust. What happens? Immediately his mind, based on the past experience, will apply a filter And if there's another person in his life and he's trying to do something for him, he'll not trust him, right? He'll think that every person is cheater. That's how our mind generalizes certain events. Politicians are, many people think, right, all politicians are corrupt, which is not true, right? Because their past experiences or their past belief system, which could be true or wrong, gives them a generalization in their mind. And that's how the event 2 gets registered. It's not event 2, event 1 is not exactly the same as event 2, because this is our internal representation, our perception of event 1. Similarly, our mind deletes several events, right? And it should delete, because there are a lot of information which we do not require, right? We meet a lot of people, not all are relevant to us, and our mind drops certain information. Whatever our mind requires as a unique object, as a unique thing, or maybe depending upon your experiences or your interest, it will capture that, right? And save it as an event 2. The third thing our mind does is distort. It gives a new meaning to that event. If an event 1 has a particular meaning, and if there's a lot of distortion in the mind based on his past unconscious belief system or experiences, right? If somebody whom you do not trust, if he gives you an advice, right? And if since you do not trust, even the advice is correct, you will give a new meaning to that, right? So that's how our mind distorts, and especially in relationships, if we talk about, this distortion is really, really negative, right? If a person is highly distorting certain things, then it becomes a problem for him to be happy in those relationships. So similarly, in the case of success, right, our past failures, our past references, or at the time of performing, our past references, if someone has failed in a particular area of life, right, so his past reference or experience will always come up. The moment he gets a new event of a similar type, he knows that he has failed in the similar situation in past, which is being registered as an event 2, but immediately his mind will stop him doing that, right? And you have noticed that out of several things, you're watching several things on television, and only a few things that interest you based on your past experiences, you will catch only that. You'll try to learn about it, right? For example, someone has an interest in finance or money, right, or wealth. He has a wealth belief. Immediately his mind will start working around that. So that's how our mind works, process information, register this event 2. Event 2 is not same as event 1, as I said, because map is not the territory. It is just the internal representation. Now how this event 2 is saved? Again, we perceive either using video, audio, or feelings. So that's how in our mind the event gets stored either as a visual, there could be some audios, or there could be some feelings associated with it, right? So it could be visual, audio, or feeling. So that's what it happens. Sometimes you have past failure experience, you have some visuals around it, you have some audio around it, or you have some feelings associated with it, which could be bad feelings, right? So the moment you recall that event or past reference, this event 2 is triggered, and it takes you to a particular state, emotional state, which either could be a positive state or it could be a negative state. Positive state, we call it as a resourceful state. Negative state could be an unresourceful state. And that's where the whole performance lies. Your positive state, right? When you are in a positive state, you have full access to your resources. But when you are in a negative state, you cannot access your resources, despite of the fact you have all the skills, you have all the capabilities. So what are the positive resources? What are the positive states? It's state of confidence, right? State of wellness, state of joy, happiness. What are negative states? When you go into negative states, there's a lot of confusion, right? There could be anger, there could be depression, right? You feel sad. So all these are negative states, right? So the moment you recall a past failure or a past phobia or any past event that happened with your life, immediately this event 2 brings you into a different state, because this event 2 has been saved in your mind with some visuals or even feelings. Immediately those feelings are triggered. The moment you recall a past event, there are some visuals, there are some sounds with it. Immediately those feelings get triggered. It takes you to a negative state. If it's a bad event, it will bring you to an unresourceful state. If that event that happened with you in the past was a good event, You enjoyed that moment and you moved on. So those are resolved issues. It takes you to a positive state. You are in a full peak confident state, right? But here, when you go into a negative state, right? So this event is not resolved for you. For example, somebody said something to you 10 years back. You are still keeping that in mind, or someone has a bad relationship in past or a failure in past, right? They still are holding to that event. These we call as unresolved issues, and that's the bigger problem, right? Now, this event 1 has passed. It's gone. More than 10 years, 12 years, right? But still, you are holding this event in your mind, and that's what takes you to a particular state. So what we can do, we have no control on this event, it has already gone. But we can change this event, our internal representation. We can play around with this event 2. We can change these visuals, audios, or we can remove this event 2. We can delete this event from our memory. Imagine you have a big failure or a big problem or a big relationship issue. What happens if you can get rid of that old past memory that's troubling you again and again, taking you to a negative state and with lack of resources, right? So that's how, using certain techniques, what we see as NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming, we can program our brain, right? We can program our brain to come from a negative state and move towards a positive state, a state of resources where you have access to all your skills and you can perform better, right? Your past failure experiences will not hamper you again. We can change this event, we can delete this event, we can modify this event, we can give a new meaning to this event, right? So that's what we're going to talk about in Neuro Linguistic Programming. Neuro stands for something related to mind. Linguistic stands for how our mind communicate, how our mind perceives information. And programming is, as you know, in a software era, it's a kind of program, right? So any event we see, perceive, it's a kind of a software that we download in our mind. It could be a good event or it could be a bad event, right? So I'll be posting a lot of techniques around this in NLP. So if you like my talk, just give likes and I'll be posting new techniques for you to improve your lifestyle. Thank you.